to me, the Texans Jets game kind of does have a little bit of a feel that that I don't feel
they're going to lose that game probably.
Exactly. That's one thing. Saleh, D'Amico was his linebacker. They're going to know each other pretty well. That one I wouldn't be as confident betting on the Texans. I will say one thing about football, which is funny, and I'm guilty of this. We anoint guys like, oh, they drafted Sauce Gardner. They should have picked Derek, or they took Derek Stingley. They should have taken Sauce. All of a sudden, you watch Derek Stingley, dude looks like fucking Revis out there moving around, picking the ball off. He's a much smoother athlete than Sauce. And here's the thing about Sauce, good player. For a big corner, I kind of like that guy to be a physical tackler like Jalen or Sherman. He is not that at all. So this notion, sometimes we do that when two players, same position, are picked, and the one guy has a lot more early success, and the other guy's really coming on. I know this. I'd take Derek Stingley, assuming like he's just going to stay healthy, because physically he's a freak, and I understand why they took him. I mean, if they hit on that pick along with their other guys, whether they end up winning 10 games this year or they end up going 8-9, whatever, their future is as bright as anyone when you factor in all these rookie contracts.
Yeah, I mean, you have a top 10 quarterback. I think that's fair to project. You have a top 10 quarterback next year.
Yeah,
Stroud's second year.
I mean, he's kind of been one this year, right?
Yeah, you could argue next year he could get into the top 5, and you have him on a rookie contract, and then you have Anderson. Their defense is starting to come along.
Yeah,
you have the two most important positions, and yeah, Stingley's look great. You have Stingley and Anderson, and by the way, it sucks that he's out for the year. It's really going to hurt them.
He break his ankle, or is it like bad?
Tank Dell, who I love, but that's one of the other most important positions in the NFL, a star receiver. You also have a really good left tackle. So yeah, that they are set up for success if they can find a way. They have a pretty easy schedule. I agree that Jets game is very trappy. But the Jags Browns, if you look at you can look at the leverage indexes. The most important game of the weekend is that Jags Browns game. The loser of that game, like the Browns lose, it's going to be really tough for them to get into the playoffs. If the Jags lose, all of a sudden, you're in the wild card hunt, or you're not even a lock for the division. You got the Ravens on deck.
I know,
so that
crazy.
Game is very important. It's also very important for that a lot of other AFC teams in the wild card mix, like the Bills. I just took a future on the Bills this week, a little 50-1 flyer to win the Super Bowl, because I think there's going to be chaos. And the one thing I know in the NFL is all these teams down the stretch that need to win more times than you would ever think, they end up losing, especially in the last week.
Totally agree.
You always expect chaos in the NFL. Perfect example will be the Texans losing to the Jets this weekend. So yeah, if you're one of those other AFC teams, it'll be a fun. One of the reasons I bet the Bills too is just for a couch change. It'd make the rest of the season even more fun, because every one of those games I'll have a little, I'll have even rooting interest tonight. I can root against the Steelers who are in the mix, and I can root. Otherwise, I would cut my limbs off with a butter knife instead of watching that game. So well,
think how good you'll feel if the Bills win this week, and next week all of a sudden they beat the Chiefs and the Cowboys. You're like, geez, I mean, my team's getting hot. Now it could go the other way too.
Yeah, then they're done if they lose the next two. If they lose this game, I actually think they're going to beat the Chiefs. But if they lose, they got to win out to get the 10 wins, and that includes the Dolphins and the Cowboys. So this game is just massive. If they win out, they're in. They'll get to 11 wins, but they probably realistically got to get to 10, and then you might need help, but that should get you in with 7 teams, even though it's not a guarantee. But I'm sure that the teams. Yeah, whoever gets the Ravens, Dolphins play each other New Year's Eve. Most likely that'll decide the 1 seed. Loser of that game gets the 2. Not only do you not get so say you lose that game, not only do you not get a bye and home field advantage throughout, your prize could be the Bills on that first weekend. So just that could be an absolutely massive game.
I would say the Ravens would be much more equipped to handle that game at home than the Dolphins. That would suck, because they would have had a fantastic season. All of a sudden, I mean, what's the line on that game? Assuming the Bills have been playing well, and I mean, it's not as big as you would think for your typical 2-7 game, right? Yep. So I'd feel bad because
could be a pick that game.
So I think the Dolphins. you know what's crazy is when you look at the AFC and NFC, it's like whoever is the healthiest and comes out playing the best out of the Cowboys, Niners, and Eagles are clearly going to be the favorite in the Super Bowl, right?
Yep.
I mean, and it could, depending on who they're playing, be the pretty big line for Super Bowl Sunday. The AFC is pretty fucking nuts. I mean, it's pretty wide open. The Chiefs are clearly a shell of themselves, what they've been over the last 5 years. Do you trust the Dolphins? I mean, when's the last time the Miami Dolphins won a playoff game? Their record speaks for itself about going on the road in cold weather conditions. So getting one of those top seeds is basically a must. I mean, if they want to have any postseason success, listen, I'm not to talk shit about your Ravens, but it's not like we have a long resume about Lamar come these January big games. Now their defense is really good relative to their competition. You'd say, well, they should probably win the AFC if all things are going well, but
that's one of the reasons I took a flyer on the Bills. If they get in,
yeah,
they could go through. They could run through the AFC.
We thought the AFC was a lot better. It just turns out with the injuries and the way it's broken out on their side, it turns out the NFC just turned out, because at the top, which is all that matters.
Yeah, both conferences, the NFC's top. Like I have the 49ers, the number one team by far. I actually have the Cowboys right now, number 2. But the Chiefs' offense has been a mess. Not many people could have predicted how bad it's been. So they're just a shell of themselves. And the AFC now is basically a 3-team race unless the Bills get in. And it's the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Dolphins. And all of those teams have flaws. And the Mark Andrews loss is huge for Baltimore as well. But it was supposed to be, the AFC was going to be 7, 8, 9 teams, unless the Bills get in, which is the wild card here. But it was supposed to be 7, 8, 9 teams deep. Trevor Lawrence now injured. You can get him out. Herbert, he's going to be out. He's one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks. Burrow got hurt. It's
Aaron
insane.
Rodgers, Jets, never been a factor.
Aaron Rodgers goes down for the Jets. So you had, 5 or 6 quarterbacks. You even have some of the other guys going. Kenny Pickett getting hurt. I mean, the quarterback injuries in the AFC this year have been ridiculous. So yeah, it's definitely way more wide open, and it's going to be a lot easier of a path for those top seeds. But yeah, as of right now, I definitely would make the NFC a favorite.